Hello, everybody. I did do a podcast this week, but it was an audio podcast. So I thought I would do a video of the highlights of a few things that I talked about and then put a link in the description box to the podcast and the show notes. So last week was staycation, and on the podcast, I talked about managing expectations and the things that didn't get done and managing some disappointment. But the good news is, we're going to hire some of the work done around the house, like the painting. That was a big thing for me to get painted. And, it just didn't happen. You can hear all about why. My poor husband had a week off, and it wound up being all appointments. I did an intense pacing project called a pineapple quilt, and I used Fat Quarter Shop's pineapple pads. You can see the link in the show notes. That was an intense piecing project last week on vacation, and I really posted that a lot on Instagram as well as on the blog. But this week was an intense quilting project. 2 intense weeks. This has probably got 20 some hours in all that pebbling and in the lines. You will have to know, I'm not going to show the whole thing because the customer is going to pick it up tomorrow, but it's a labyrinth illusion quilt. Do I have to give it up? Let me show you a little other section here. Oh, look at all that pebbles and the straight lines. Yes, all freehand with a ruler. 20 some hours into that quilt. I'll be very happy when it delivers because it's for a gift, and I hope that they love the quilt. So what else did I work on this week? Well, a lot of things on the podcast. I talked about what I completed, and a lot of it was interest in the Cricut because I've had this now for several months, and I want to learn more lessons on it. And I'll have to say today, I found out you can take lessons through people online. So I signed up for one, and I'll talk more about that next week. But my lesson was I learned how to download custom shapes. This is a jewel shape because this is super hot online right now. Are these hearts? Aren't they cute? English paper piecing. I've been bitten by the bug. Speaking of bugs, it is another swap that I signed up for, and it's all bumblebees. Bees. Yes, this is one fabric. So I got going on these so much that I cut up the whole fat quarter, and I love these fussy cuts. They're so much fun. I've never done a lot of fussy cuts, and on the pineapple quilt I did fussy cuts, and on the hexagons, and I learned you need to have a larger seam allowance of 3/8 of an inch. I just learned that. So I made lots of extras per color, per bag, because I want to make sure that I pick the best ones that meet the requirements of the swap. I've had a good swap. This is Littler Bees. It's super, super cute. And I had bad luck, a few years ago on swaps, and this has been so much fun. So I did a 10-inch swap last month, and I just signed up for this in July. Bees. I love bees. What am I going to do with them? I don't know. I have no idea, but I will definitely come up with something. Maybe I'll make more grandmother's flower garden with those as the centers with the bees. I don't know. So the Cricut project, I learned how to do hexagons a couple weeks ago. I learned how to do custom shapes like the jewel. I want to eventually learn enough skills to do an ice cream soda English paper pieced quilt. But this week, I signed up for the monthly skills because I want to show you. I made this welcome sign, and it's cool, and it's in a box that I bought. I upcycled. It was supposed to be for our fairy garden. I took the fairy garden stuff out and put it in my fairy garden, but when I get close, you can see that some of the things crazed a little bit, and this wood had some oil on it, so there was a problem with putting the vinyl on. But for now, it'll work. And guess what? There's a shelf on the bottom. Oh, guess what? Dollar store. Can put that in the mudroom, and who cares if it falls off? Because there will be no water from watering it, and there'll be no damage if the plant falls, and my heart won't be broken. But it's super cute. Doesn't look too bad. If you get up close, you can tell it's plastic, but I dare you to look at my Instagram when I put that on a white background and to say that that's a fake plant, right? So this is the quilt that I'm going to be working on. Raffia. I don't have the jelly roll here, but it's going to be exactly like the color scheme here. I bought this for the quilt shop, and they're doing a sample program there. And this is one of the pieces. Not too hard. Just strips, jelly rolls. Keep track of the color, keep track of the layout. So this is my Violet Craft quilt. You can see. And she has the coolest fabric. It's this Betty's Luncheonette. It's super cute. I'm going to start it today. So that's the highlights of my podcast. So I think I'm going to be doing this because if I do shorter clips, I have the technology to do that. I'll link to the audio so you can listen. And I also found out that if you have a Roku, iHeartRadio plays podcasts on there too. I'm on all sorts of podcast catchers like iHeartRadio or iPods, iTunes, Podbean, things like that. So be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on videos, and you can see the highlights of the things I'm working on. And who knows, maybe I'll be able to get an upgrade and do the longer version of the podcast. But in the meantime, I'm super excited about everything I'm working on, and quilt on, everyone.